Funding for this program is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.
Coming up next, Off 90. Mankato painter Amber Rahe. The Wanda Gag House in New Ulm. An Austin organization that pays it forward. And a Midwest Music Fest in Winona. It's all just ahead, Off 90.
Hi, I'm Amber Rahe, and I'm a painter. I use a lot of different mediums, and every medium has kind of reasons why I love it. Oil paint is probably my favorite thing to paint with, just because of the way it moves across the canvas. I like the feel of it. I started making these things because I was making work that was really highly detailed and a heavier subject matter. It was all about cancer. It had to deal with the death of my grandparents, and it became really stressful. So I wanted to do something easy and a little bit destructive. This current work is a lot more fun. I get inspired to put something in my work if I find out like a weird or unusual fact about an animal or a creature. One of the weirdest things I found out while I was making paintings was that there's a couple species of cockroaches that produce milk for their young. I could go on with the story, but it does get worse, but I don't think you want it. I like very bold and saturated colors. I'm not a big fan of pastels or a lot of lightness. After I found these animals or whatever they are, I started to think about like the human impact in nature. My husband and I take a lot of walks, walking on a trail in a park, and you're coming across like little bits of like micro trash, bottle caps, paper clips. And I start researching that. I figure out what kind of micro trash would go with it. So I started incorporating these little bits of micro trash. It's a green bottle fly, and those are attracted to just garbage. So if you looked closely at the fly, there's like little tiny green bottle flies on the fly. So it's called flies on fly. So it's basically like the fly being attracted to itself because it's garbage. I like colors that the play between warm and cool a lot of the time. I have one that's a toad with bubble gum. The reason I did the bubble gum with the frog is because of like the way that they produce the sound. They kind of create their own bubble. The micro trash that went with it had to be something that maybe produced a bubble. Like I wanted to do something light. I had all these inks that I hadn't used in years, and I started pouring them on this paper that I had been using, and it didn't absorb into the paper, it just kind of pooled. I needed something to move it across the surface, so I grabbed some rubbing alcohol that I had in my studio, and the ink actually repels from the rubbing alcohol. So no matter what I do to it, sometimes I hit it, I blow on it, it'll just kind of do its own thing. and I'm kind of drawing from nature. It might just be an animal, it might be a flower, so I'm kind of creating these environments for these things to live in. I first knew I was an artist probably about the age of 5. My grandmother was a painter, and she used to give me art lessons at the kitchen table, and I kind of always loved to draw. I once asked my mom what my favorite toy was as a kid, and she said crayons. But I kind of was in denial about being an artist until I got to college. I went to college thinking that I had to choose something that was going to make me money and was going to ensure that I was financially stable. So I tried every subject that I could think of that wasn't art. Until my second year of college, I took a ceramics class, and the second I did that, I knew that that's what I had to do. I absolutely love creating art. I don't know what I would do if I couldn't.
We are at the Wanda Gag House in New Ulm, Minnesota, the home of Wanda Gag and the Gag family. So when you come to the Wanda Gag House, I think there are definitely 3 spokes of this wheel that is the Gag family. One of the books, the other ones is the artwork, and it's definitely the house itself. The house itself is a work of art. The Gag House was built in 1893. It is a Queen Anne Victorian, and there were 7 children and 2 parents that lived in this house.
Anton Gag, the father of this family that lived here, was one of the designers of the house. There are 7 colors on the exterior of the house. There are 7 shapes of windows in this house. There are 7 rooms in this house. There were 7 children, and it's kind of strange that Papa died at 49 and Mother died at 49. So we have a sevens that runs through this family. Here at the Wanda Gag House, we are trying to promote the legacy of the Gag family. We have many historic artifacts in the house. We have the Gag artwork from numerous family members, as well as a bookstore that promotes the books that the family has been involved with.
First of all, they were the family of Bohemian immigrants, German Bohemian immigrants, and they were artistic. And actually, I'd even go further to say that they are creative. Creativity breathed in the walls of this house. It's pretty amazing when you're here. You can feel it. It's all over.
So the Anton Gag family was a very artistic family. Anton was a photographer, a painter, an interior decorator, a designer, anything he could make money at. He was a poor, starving artist, is how he's often described. His children were also very artistic, and that is all of them. They were very musical. They would go with Papa, which was Anton, over to Turner Hall. He would take his zither, which we have in the corner on display, and they would go sing at Turner Hall. Wanda became famous for her children's literature, and in 1928, The Millions of Cats was published, and it was a storybook for children. Of course, Wanda loved fairy tales.
So this book, Millions of Cats, is the oldest American picture book still in print. It just went into the public domain, which has created a lot of attention for the book and actually now for the artwork itself.
So the book Millions of Cats was the first to have illustrations go across both pages. Previous to that, children's literature was writing on one page and a picture on the next page, but that isn't how Wanda did it. She included both. Wanda loved cats. Grandma Beeble down by the river had a farm, and they often went down there and they played with the cats. And yes, Wanda had cats. We have pictures of her with her cat Snoopy. Yeah, she loved cats. She drew cats. We have in our bookstore all of the books that Wanda has written. One of the most famous one is ABC Bunny, and Flavia actually wrote the music in the front of the book.
As far as Wanda's artwork is not indicative of anything of that time. Even when I look at artwork that's comparable, Wanda's artwork really hums with life. If you think about surrealism, sometimes it's taking almost like a fantasy and creating it on a canvas. What Wanda has done is taken everyday objects and changed them into like a vibrating, whirling kind of almost an air movement around them.
Anton may have become a famous artist had he lived longer. He died at 49 years old of lung-induced tuberculosis from lead paints. He was a photographer, and we have many, many photographs that have his signature on him in his art studio. But he also liked to paint. So many of the churches, all the way from Zumbrota to Sleepy Eye, have some of Anton's artwork in them. It is important that people enjoy this house. We would hope that you would take a greater appreciation for the local artwork as well as for Wanda. And she wasn't just a local artist, but she is a world-renowned artist. The Wanda Gag House is open for visitation from mid-May until mid-October. You can get a tour on Saturday from 10 until 4 and on Sundays from 11 to 2, and then weekdays by special appointment by calling the house and arranging for a docent to meet you to give you a tour.
I think when you visit the Wanda Gag House, you're feeling the presence of history, but it's history that actually moves into the present. And there's a story here that needs to be told, and the story is this. How many of us have been told, you can't do that, that's never gonna work out? That was Wanda's story. And she kept doing basically her own thing, and that is her character.
Pay It Forward is a community collaboration that we just help people in need in the community. Pay It Forward on its own does smaller projects throughout the year, different things people in need, from prescriptions to help with funeral costs to other repairs in the home, a wide variety of things. There's really kind of no limits to what we do outside of the bigger project. The bigger project is a collaboration of multiple companies within Moore County, even some probably international companies that are involved. So for candidacy to be qualified to be nominated or have a nomination sent in, the rules are pretty simple. I mean, as long as they're occupying the house, and we have to see that there is a need. We want to know what the need is, and is it something. Sometimes there are programs within the county or the state can help some people, and typically actually the people that we help do not qualify for any type of state or county assistance. These are usually husband, wife, family. They're working. They just, what needs to be done in the repairs or the modifications are beyond their financial ability. So this year's project for our 11th season was primarily it was for Tim Staver. His wife Samantha had nominated him for assistance. So Tim was in a very bad snowmobile accident 5 years ago, this past February, and injured his back to a degree that he will have lifelong struggles with back pain and back issues. Putting a walk-in tub for him, I think, was probably my #1 priority. When we walk in the house, we look at what else can we address then. And when we walked into the kitchen, I was noticing the kitchen was original. It was from 1975. Because if we have the power and the time and the finances, we like to address as much as we possibly can. And the kitchen was in need of some optimization. So if everybody is on board, then Todd says everybody will do whatever Gina asked for 5 days. So as long as I can get away with it, then, you know, why not? Why not take it just a step further? Pay It Forward will exist as long as I should say I can physically do it and continue to have the support that I have in the community and beyond that. I don't see that Pay It Forward is going to stop. I hope it continues beyond me. I hope at some point when I will no longer be able to move forward, which I hope I'm doing this when I'm 80, even if I'm just lining the stars up for people, that I'll pass the torch on to someone who actually can do the harder legwork. But I guess I don't see an end to it. I don't see, because the need is always there. You know, the nomination letters are always coming in. I get multiple requests every week about just little things like this, you know, I can't even fix this, or I don't have heat in my house, or so it'll keep going as long as I can possibly financially do it. I'll find a way. There's always a way to do it. And God's got my back, so.
This is the 15th anniversary festival for Midwest Music Fest. It's been going on since 2009 and became a nonprofit organization shortly after.
Midwest Music Fest is an annual downtown takeover of Winona, Minnesota, with over 70 bands, 7 venues over 2 days. We bring in bands from everywhere, from our backyard to halfway across the country, to really showcase and celebrate the arts and culture of Southeast Minnesota.
My Grandma's Cardigan has been together for 12-ish years. We have gone from being a folk band to getting pretty groovy, and yeah, we're just a group of friends that like playing music together, constantly growing and constantly changing.
Gotta get going, I'm leaving, I'm heading downtown. Piled in the back of the car like an alley of clowns. Why you always watching me go with a smile and a frown? That smile knocks you and I'll go beat that.
My Grandma's Cardigan has been playing at Midwest for almost 10 years, and it is exactly where we got our start and where we fully felt like we were becoming a part of the music scene and being accepted into a music community. So I think it is that for a lot of people, a lot of musicians, and a lot of the bands you'll see.
Oh, gotta get out of this house before I die. Ooh, ooh.
1, 2, 3, 4.
We have all these different organizations and businesses that host live music at the festival, but also are supporting live music throughout the year. And we love to see the collaboration, really, of everyone coming together as a community to see and discover new bands and hang out together. A lot of people call it somewhat of a family reunion among the community and among artists that are all getting to be in one space at one time.
ooh.
first time working on the festival was in 2017, where I was working as a photographer for The Current up in Minneapolis. And then in 2018 and 2019, we started hosting shows at our shop in downtown Winona, booking the bands and organizing those. And then in 2022 was when we formally got brought on as the production director and the creative director of the festival.
Every year there are add-ons, things to do during the day, like yoga, marketplace, and then also these panel discussions that are discussing everything from like pressing records to budgets to music business 101, all that kind of stuff. And so I think it's been a really cool experience to not only be a part of it, but witness it. If you're not excited about what you're doing, I can't get excited about what you're doing. So you got to believe in yourself and actually like do something to show the world that you want to do what you're doing. Yeah! For those of you who do not know about Black Widows, we are from Minneapolis, Minnesota. We are a all-femme surf punk band who plays a combination of surf standards and originals. And we tour and we stay close to home. We do it all.
Sit here, Papa Peter Pan. I'm not your mama or your baby. I'm not even your friend. Drink up all the honey like a bear in a tree. No, 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 not everything in life. Not everything in life is free.
Shout out to Midwest Music Fest, Nate and Maggie. Give that for Nate and Maggie. I don't think they're here, but doing this for so long, they have done such a good job of building this cool thing every year.
It was started as an AmeriCorps project in 2009 by Sam Brown as a way to give back to the community and initially to bring a plethora of new talent every year, but it's really become and honed in on a focus of supporting and uplifting our regional arts and music.
There is a flourishing art scene here, music scene here that is so appreciated and that is so supported by the local Minnesotans here, or even some of the people who've migrated here, like how I did from Atlanta. There wasn't a lot of rock music in Atlanta that I saw of at the time that I really wanted to emulate after or anything like that. Moving to Minnesota and being a songwriter, meeting all of the group members of Tim is a Rocker at McNally Smith, and just seeing how talented the Minnesota locals here are with music, with art, and how eager they are to just get out and just to celebrate each other's talents. It's really, really cool. We like to give a really good show. I think a lot of our stage presence is what makes Tim is a Rocker, the band Tim is a Rocker. It's fun over here, I promise.
The reason why Midwest Music Fest is special is because it is so centered on this community, and that's why we love it so much. It's always been about the people, the places, businesses, the artists, and being able to come together and celebrate each other and celebrate the scene and kind of show like why we're proud to be in Southeast Minnesota and be in the Driftless. I think that's kind of the biggest thing. There's always plenty of good times at every festival, but I think it's all about the spirit for me.
Yeah, and I've been involved in just about every different part of the organization of the festival and seeing kind of all the different strengths it takes among our community to make it actually happen is kind of inspiring. It's a lot of moving parts. So the structure of the festival is very unique and works really well in these smaller communities that are able to come together to support it and get the job done. We love our volunteers. We have a ton of folks who come from sound, staging, bars, I mean, literally
Every
everything.
aspect, yeah.
Yeah, so there's people with experience in all these different areas coming out to support us. We are a nonprofit, so there's a lot of help that we need throughout the year and at the actual event. We just want to thank everybody who's supported the fest for 15 years. That's a major milestone. And for everyone who was able to come and celebrate that with us this year.
Funding for this program is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.